COPWATCH, policing the police every single day.
Police officers. They're public officials with the power to use force against civilians. We'd like to believe that when cops cross the line, there's a powerful system that polices the police. Now, we're all familiar with those dramatic scenes when a cop gets held accountable for his actions.
I'm gonna need you to hand in your badge and gun.
All right, fine, you can have my badge and gun, but we're doing it in your office so I can slam them down on your desk and yell out, "The system stinks!"
But in reality, we can recount so few examples of an officer actually being held accountable for wrongdoing. Why? Because it's extremely difficult to even investigate officers for misconduct. Let's talk about that. I'm Doreen McKesson, and this is Truth Be Told. Complaints against the police are routinely ignored. That's a conclusion Reuters reached last year when reviewing complaints from 15 cities. They found that very few were sustained by police internal review boards. In Tacoma, Washington, for instance, during the 12 months Reuters investigated, only 10% of complaints weren't dismissed. So why do so many of these complaints get tossed? Well, it turns out someone is protecting officers from accountability: the police unions. Like any union, police unions serve their members. They negotiate fair pay and workplace protections, and when an incident arises, they're called upon to help their membership, the cops they represent. But unlike a lot of other organized labor groups, police unions have managed to codify strong protections for cops into law at the expense of public safety. In these 14 states, police have their own Bill of Rights. Police union contracts also include strong protections for their officers. In these 81 cities, those contracts include extremely specific language aimed at protecting cops if they find themselves being investigated. Some of these protections might well surprise you, or maybe infuriate you, but they go a long way toward explaining why it seems so rare that cops are held accountable for wrongdoing. In these cities and states, an officer accused of improper behavior is allowed a cooling off period. This means the officer has time between when they are accused of misconduct and when they can be interrogated by investigators. That window of time shielding a cop from an investigator can be 24 hours, as it is in Sacramento, or it can be up to 30 days, as it is in Louisiana. Normal citizens who are accused of crimes aren't given a window of time to collect themselves or get their story straight. There's no cooling off period for you or me. After all, the first 48 hours are said to be crucial to any criminal investigation. The cops know that. There's even a show glorifying that idea. Once a police officer is finally interrogated, they've got protections there too. In these cities, in this state, officers are allowed to review all evidence against them before interrogation. And in 17 cities in 3 states, officers are even given the names of the people who filed complaints before they can be interrogated. Now combined, these clauses effectively mean that anonymous complaints can't be made against an officer. Say you see something illegal taking place that an officer has done and you want to report it. Well, they'll immediately know who you are and will know the nature of the allegation before they can even be asked any question. Now, if you or I are suspected of breaking a law, the police will just start asking us questions and we can request a lawyer to be present. But why do the police have protections that the public doesn't? Shouldn't we hold public servants to a higher bar? Even if an investigation does continue after all these rules around interrogations, how is that cop disciplined? Well, guess what? The unions have rules to address that too. There's sometimes odd specifics about the way an officer can be held accountable. For instance, Portland's police union contract states, if the city has a reason to reprimand or discipline an officer, it shall be done in a manner that is least likely to embarrass the officer before other officers or the public. It literally says that. And there's also widespread practice of routinely erasing police records of misconduct. In these cities and states, police departments erase disciplinary records after a set amount of years, sometimes as early as 1 year. The point is, police officers get special treatment. How does that make sense? Now here's why this matters. If the cops aren't being held accountable, how can they hold communities accountable? Recent polling shows that only 30% of Black people and 45% of Latinos have confidence in the police. This distrust isn't good for law enforcement or the public. The police work for every community in America. They work for us, and we have a say in how they do their jobs and what rules apply when they cross the line. Police contracts and the laws that protect cops in your community are public, and the contracts are routinely renegotiated. When they are, the police unions in your community are going to be a strong voice in those negotiations, but they don't have to be the only voice. you can work with your local officials to be at the table too.
Police use who may want to retaliate against him physically.
Hey Charlotte County, this is Charlotte County Cop Watch, and I just wanted you to know that I am using this stuff under fair use. And also remember to like and subscribe this channel. Also too, keep in mind I do not make any money on YouTube. This is 5 hours work a day, you know, fighting for freedom. And you can donate with PayPal and Patreon. I just want you to think about this. If everybody gives to PayPal and Patreon, Patreon is every month. Actually, PayPal you can do every month. I have 12,000 subscribers. If everybody gives, I can quit my regular job and go full-time investigations on Charlotte County and possibly even more and beyond. So just keep that in mind. If everybody helps out, I can go full-time doing this. Thanks.